Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger and my friends. Today we're talking Street Fighter and its legacy in media besides just the actual video games themselves. And I want to talk a more obscure one. So you probably know about all sorts of the movies that have went on, all sorts of crazy merchandise from G.I. Joes to these days they got licensed Street Fighter shoes. I got some Gill shoes myself. Thank you very much, Reebok, for the shoes. I do appreciate it. And we got a lot of comics, and that's sort of where we're going here. Now, a lot of the comics are actually quite good, especially a lot of the Udon ones. I highly recommend them. But when we go back in time a bit to the real peak of the Street Fighter craze in the early 90s, the quality on some of the products that were licensed out were not as high. And specifically to that end, we're talking the Malibu Comics Street Fighter comic in this video. Now, you may have heard of Malibu Comics before, and they were a lower tier comic distributor back in the early 90s. Marvel or DC, they were not, to say the least, and I'm not here to go into the whole history of Malibu. Suffice to say, they kind of crashed and burned, and they sold to Marvel, and that was the end of it. They did not have a very long-lasting legacy. But they did have this officially licensed Street Fighter comic that was a planned 6-issue miniseries and was so bad, they canceled it after issue number 3. And my friends, well, that's sort of the point of the video. I want to run you through this, the single most embarrassingly bad Street Fighter comic ever made, the Malibu Comics run of Street Fighter. So on issue 1 of the comic, it opens with something you would expect, I suppose. The end of the Street Fighter 1 tournament, Ryu giving the Shin Shoryuken to Sagat, giving him his infamous scar. But as we go on, well, the thing about the era of the 90s that we're in is everything's got to be edgy as all get out. It's the era of Venom, Carnage, and Spawn, after all. Heck, on page 1, there's a guy in the background whom I'm assuming is supposed to be like an homage to Vindicator. Turns out that opening page, though, is just Sagat watching old footage of him getting whooped by Ryu, and, well, he handles it like a child. And then just attacks Balrog, because why not? At which point they're dressed down by Bison. Okay, whatever. And Bison, he wants Ryu done. He wants Ryu destroyed for reasons that are never explained. Ryu's a good guy, Bison's a bad guy, therefore they must fight. That is the only logic you'll ever get. And Sagat is his instrument in getting this done. Meanwhile, what's Ryu up to? Well, he's making a pass at Chun-Li, gets rejected, and then criminally assaults her for it. But it's all cool because Chun-Li likes it that way, I guess. Once again, 1, remember, this is edgy stuff. And 2, the 90s did not have the best writing for women in comics. Let's just get all the way real. Eventually, they wind up talking about Ken, and Ken is actually the focal point of the entire comic, as he's the vehicle on how Shadaloo is going to get to Ryu, and also the ultimate source of all the edginess of the comic. The premise they're rocking with is after the First World War year tournament, Ken sort of lost his way. Fame and money kind of got to his head, and he's not been training as hard as Ryu has. Basically, Ken's lost a step, and therefore it's easy for Shadaloo to ambush him, so Balrog and Sagat attack a much diminished Ken. And so we enter issue number 2, special poster inside, and you can see things aren't looking so great for Ken. Sagat looks like he has his number. And it looks like he has his number because he totally does. Sagat absolutely kicks the crap out of Ken. They make a big deal on how motivated Sagat is and just how out of shape Ken is. Ken gets a little bit of offense in, but basically they say Sagat is just not the same Sagat he was in the First World War tournament. He's too strong now. Like half this issue is just Sagat kicking the crap out of Ken, but suffice to say in the end, he wins. At which point Balrog's like, hey, we gotta kill him. So he tosses a knife to Sagat. And, well, Sagat kills Ken. Sagat kills Ken. In this licensed comic book for Street Fighter 2, they kill Ken. They actually kill him. Can't get more edgy than that, I guess. So we go from that to Ryu mysteriously being attacked by a car. And after dodging the car, Ryu friggin' attacks the car. Like he starts punching it. Because, you know, oh, we got the bonus level, we got to punch a car, right? So yeah, he starts attacking the car. After the car is sufficiently tamed, we have a look inside, and what is this? It's like Ken's scalp or something? Ken, my oldest friend, no! If you've seen anything about this comic, this is absolutely the panel that you've seen. So they sent an empty car barreling down a hill with Ken's remains in it, I guess. That's the only logic I can piece out. But yeah, so now I guess the message is sent. Guess you better get revenge for Ken, even though at no point during all this are you told, or at least from Ryu's perspective, does he know who Ken's killers are? So all he has is a scalp to work with and nothing else. Tantalizing stuff though, right? To be continued. We better tune into that next issue. And here we are, the final issue. So featuring the Ferret, one of Malibu's, frankly, loser characters, but, they gotta self-promote, I guess, so maybe you want to go buy a Ferret comic after reading this. Comic opens with Blanca in his reading spectacles, getting a Western Union saying Ken is presumed dead. And just to put it out there, Blanca in his reading glasses is just a great shot. And this is where a lot of the edge comes in. So after reading it, someone throws a rock at him, and it's like, oh, this green guy looks weird. He's a freak. We better make fun of him. So Blanca kills them, because that's what Blanca would do. Blanca-chan? Lovable Jimmy? No, man, he's a stone-cold murderer when it comes to the 90s comics. We then cut to Zangief as we're doing a Ken Grief World Tour, and he's reminiscing that he really should have been the one to beat Ken. And to keep with the edgy trend here, Zangief kills the bears, which is absolutely out of character for him. I really don't like the animal violence thing. Cut to Dalsum. He's really mad about the whole Ken thing too, and he's going to meditate and then destroy Ken's killers. Cut to Guile. He's all sassy about Ken's death, so he basically starts a bar fight. Now, this is one of the most absolutely insane things of the entire comic run. So the bar owner is obviously like, hey, who's going to pay for this, right? You ruined my bar with your fight. Guile's response to this is to absolutely destroy the entire bar. He started the fight, he broke all the stuff in the bar, and the guy's like, what are you going to do about this, right? And his response is to destroy the entire bar. And then he punches the bartender out. Like, what an insane person. At which point he's just like, oh man, so sad about Charlie and Ken. And then he just walks away like he's somehow the good guy. Then there's this whole side arc with the Ferret and Honda basically just schooling him for free, including showing him the deadly butt crunch attack. The one thing I will give to Malibu Comics in this is they let their character, the Ferret, what a great name, they let their character absolutely get dominated by Honda. So they let one of their own guys job out to one of the Street Fighter characters. But nothing actually comes of this other than Honda thinking it's good training so he can, shape up to find whoever killed Ken. And then we introduce a new character called Nita, and Nita is taking care of Shen Long. Yes, that Shen Long, aka Gouken, before Gouken was ever given a proper name. There's a whole side plot where Shen Long was poisoned. It doesn't really matter. But here we're learning basically that Nita is a fighter, and she also is training to be a street fighter just like Ryu. And she wants to fight Ryu, I guess. Sure, why not? And that's it. That's the end of the third comic, and they canceled the comic, so that's where the story ends. All we really learned through the course of this comic is Sagat kills Ken, and a lot of the main Street Fighter cast are crazy assholes. Blanca murders a bunch of people over an insult. Zangief is an animal killer. If you confront Guile over something that's completely his fault, he'll destroy your entire livelihood over it, and then physically assault you. The only person in this whole comic that comes off as like a well-adjusted human being is Honda, because he just smiles and he trains with the Ferret, and that's it. So my friends, that's just a taste of the 90s. Street Fighter was absolutely everywhere. It was absolutely the single biggest game on planet Earth, and everyone needed a taste. So be it high-budget movies or lower-budget comics, you always found Street Fighter somewhere. If you did not know about the Malibu Comics adaptation of Street Fighter, well, now you do, unfortunately. There's a lot of bad adaptations of the various, video game properties over the years, but this one has always stuck out to me as one of the worst. There is a lot of bad Street Fighter licensed products, merchandise, and all that kind of stuff over the years, but this one has always been near the bottom of the barrel, and for good reason. They kill one of the main characters, which is not really something you do, and the characterizations of a lot of the core characters are wildly different than how they're presented anywhere else. It was the 90s and everyone had to be edgy, so they made everyone edgy even when it didn't completely fit. That all said, though, I hope you enjoy our little throwback in time, a look back in the 90s and how silly things were. things are better these days. The licensed products are definitely a lot better, so go out and enjoy some of those. And otherwise, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.